ClawdBot is everywhere right now. If you've been on X or Twitter in the last few days, you've probably seen people hyping it up, arguing about it, celebrating it, or completely misunderstanding what it actually is. Some are calling it revolutionary, praising its potential to transform how we interact with technology on a daily basis. Others are calling it dangerous, warning about the unforeseen consequences it could unleash into our personal computing environments. And a lot of people are asking the same question: is this the thing that finally turns AI into a real autonomous agent? This query reflects a broader curiosity about the evolution of artificial intelligence from passive tools to active participants in our lives. The longer, more important answer is what this video is about, as we dive deeper into the specifics to clarify the excitement and the concerns surrounding it, because ClawdBot is being talked about as if it's one thing, when in reality, it's something very different. And if you don't understand that difference, you're either going to overestimate it, inflating its capabilities beyond what's realistic, or underestimate the risks completely, potentially exposing yourself to unintended vulnerabilities. So let's slow this down and get precise, breaking it apart step by step to build a clear picture. First, ClawdBot is not Claude code. This might seem like a basic clarification, but it's essential to address up front. This sounds obvious, but it's the single biggest point of confusion online right now, with countless threads and posts mixing up the two concepts entirely. Claude Code is a coding environment, a specialized platform developed to assist developers in their workflows. It's an interface where you interact with a large language model to write, debug, and reason about code, offering features like real-time suggestions and error checking. It lives in a controlled context, often within a web-based IDE or similar setup. It has boundaries, such as limited access to external resources to prevent misuse. It responds when you prompt it, functioning reactively to user inputs without independent initiative. ClawdBot is not that. It's a fundamentally distinct entity, not tied to any specific AI model or proprietary system in the same way. ClawdBot is an open-source application that can use models like Claude, Gemini, or ChatGPT, but it is not any of those models itself. Think of it as a container, a flexible framework that wraps around these foundational AI technologies, or more accurately, think of it as an agent shell that you install on your own machine, allowing for customization and integration into your personal ecosystem. And that distinction changes everything, shifting the paradigm from cloud-based interactions to localized empowered operations. Here's the cleanest mental model to help visualize this. Imagine your phone, a device that's always with you and deeply integrated into your daily routines. And imagine a messaging app like Telegram or WhatsApp, which facilitates seamless communication. Now imagine that instead of texting a human, you're texting an AI that lives on your personal computer, not in the cloud, where data might be processed remotely and subject to external controls. Not in a browser tab, which can be easily closed or restricted by web standards. Not sandboxed on someone else's servers, where corporate policies dictate behavior and access on your machine, right there in your local environment, with direct access to your hardware and software resources. That's ClawdBot in its essence. You install it locally, often through straightforward but technical steps involving command-line tools. You connect it to a messaging platform, such as Discord, Slack, or even SMS gateways for broader reach. And from that point on, you can send instructions to an AI agent that has the same permissions you do, mirroring your user privileges on the system. Read that again because it's crucial to grasp the implications, the same permissions you do, without artificial barriers or intermediary oversight. If you can create files on your hard drive, ClawdBot can create files, potentially generating reports, logs, or even new scripts automatically. If you can open a browser to surf the web, ClawdBot can open a browser, navigating sites, scraping data, or interacting with online services. If you can read emails, access folders, run scripts, connect to APIs, or automate workflows, so can it, extending its reach into email clients, file systems, and external integrations like calendars or databases. This is why people are excited, envisioning endless possibilities for productivity and innovation. And this is also why people should be nervous, considering the potential for misuse or accidental harm in an uncontrolled setting, because this is not a web app confined to a remote server with built-in safeguards. There is no safety buffer, no automated checks to prevent overreach. There is no "are you sure" pop-up that interrupts potentially risky actions, forcing a moment of reflection. When you install ClawdBot, you're not chatting with an assistant. In a casual, low-stakes conversation, you're unleashing an agent, a semi-autonomous entity capable of independent operation within the bounds you set or fail to set. And agents behave very differently than chatbots, introducing a level of dynamism that's both thrilling and unpredictable. Most people's experience with AI is reactive, limited to query response cycles.
You ask a question perhaps about the weather or a recipe. You get an answer tailored but contained. You leave, and the interaction ends until you return. Even when the model remembers things through context windows or session history, it's still waiting on you, passive until prompted. ClawdBot flips that model entirely, inverting the power dynamic. Once configured with your preferences and access tokens, it doesn't just respond to direct queries. It watches for signals in integrated platforms. It listens to incoming data streams. It monitors specified channels or conditions in real time. It looks for opportunities to act based on the instructions and context you've given it, such as rules for pattern recognition or event triggers. This is where the real power comes in, enabling scenarios that go beyond one-off assistance. Let's say you're a content creator, constantly juggling ideas and audience feedback. You research trends by scrolling through social media, read posts from influencers, watch engagement patterns like likes and shares, and decide what's worth turning into a video based on virality potential. With ClawdBot, you can give it access to platforms like X, granting API keys for reading timelines or searching hashtags. Tell it what topics you care about, perhaps tech innovations, pop culture memes, or niche hobbies, and instruct it to monitor trends continuously, scanning for spikes in mentions or sentiment shifts, not once as in a single search query, continuously running in the background like a vigilant watchdog. It can then decide on its own that something meets your criteria, say a topic reaching a certain threshold of retweets, and send you a report via your preferred messaging app, or a summary condensing key points, or a notification alerting you to act quickly, all without you asking in that moment, freeing you to focus on creative work while the agent handles the reconnaissance. That's proactive AI, a shift towards systems that anticipate needs rather than merely fulfill them. And we're not used to that yet, as our collective experience with AI has been more about convenience than collaboration. But here's the part that doesn't get said enough in the online discourse. Amid all the enthusiasm, these systems are non-deterministic, meaning their outputs aren't always predictable or repeatable in the same way. Traditional programs are. That means they don't behave like traditional software, where logic gates ensure consistent results. There is no fixed if this then that certainty, no rigid flowchart dictating every path. They predict based on processing sensitive information unintentionally, send the wrong message to a colleague or client, causing professional embarrassment, trigger an action you didn't intend, like deleting backups or posting publicly what was meant to be private. And yes, that includes messages to real people, extending into social realms. If you give it access to contacts, email providers, or messaging platforms like WhatsApp integrations, you're trusting an AI system not just to think abstractly, but to act socially on your behalf, potentially replying to threads or initiating conversations. That's not a small leap. That's a massive one, requiring a level of faith in AI reliability that current models haven't fully earned. This is why ClawdBot hasn't been officially released by a major AI company like OpenAI or Google. Not because the idea isn't valuable, far from it, as it aligns with visions of ubiquitous AI assistance, but because the risk profile is completely different, laden with liabilities that corporations are wary of assuming. When an AI runs on your machine with open permissions, you're the safety layer, the final arbiter of what happens. There is no corporation standing between you and the consequences. No legal team to handle fallout or insurance to cover damages. Another thing people are glossing over is exposure, particularly in terms of network and system vulnerabilities. ClawdBot can require open ports for certain functionalities, like webhook integrations or remote triggers. That means your machine can become accessible in ways it wasn't before, potentially opening doors to external threats if not configured securely. It hasn't been battle-tested in large-scale deployments. It hasn't gone through years of adversarial security testing by ethical hackers. It's open source, which is powerful for community-driven improvements and transparency, but also means responsibility shifts to the user who must audit code and apply patches themselves. This isn't plug-and-play consumer software like downloading a simple app from a store. It's infrastructure, foundational tech that underpins more complex systems, and infrastructure always assumes a certain level of technical competence to deploy safely.
If words like CLI, command line interface ports, or scheduled jobs already sound intimidating, that's not a judgment. It's a signal that this might not be the right tool for you at this stage. This tool isn't designed for mass adoption yet, but rather for those willing to tinker and learn. But the underlying idea is still important, because it shows where things are going in the broader AI landscape, pointing toward a more integrated future. One of the most overlooked aspects of ClawdBot is cost, which can sneak up on users unprepared for its ongoing nature. When you use a normal chat interface, like ChatGPT's web version, you're paying per interaction, even if you don't consciously feel it through subscription models. With agent-based systems like this, costs are continuous, accruing over time, rather than per use. ClawdBot can run scheduled tasks via cron jobs or similar schedulers. It can sit idle, waiting for triggers like new emails or API updates. And when it decides something needs to be done, based on its monitoring logic, it can consume massive numbers of tokens in the background, processing data through the underlying LLM repeatedly. People are already reporting bills that reach hundreds of dollars per day, not from frivolous use, but from sustained operation. Not because they're constantly chatting in endless sessions, but because the agent is constantly thinking, analyzing, and deciding in loops that rack up API calls. That's the hidden trade-off of autonomy, shifting from on-demand computation to always-on awareness. You're no longer paying for answers to specific questions. You're paying for vigilance, a persistent state of readiness that demands resources. And vigilance adds up quickly, especially if the agent is verbose or handles large datasets. So who is ClawdBot actually for? We need to be realistic about its audience. Not everyone, as it's not a universal solution for casual users. Not yet anyway, until user-friendly wrappers emerge. It's for people who understand what they're installing, from the code dependencies to the runtime implications. People who can isolate environments using tools like virtual VMs or sandboxes, control access with fine-grained permissions, and accept that experimentation comes with risk, including debugging failures or mitigating breaches. It's for builders who code their own extensions, researchers exploring AI agency in controlled studies, automation-focused creators streamlining repetitive tasks, and technically literate users who want to explore what happens when AI stops waiting for instructions and starts initiating them. If that's you, ClawdBot is fascinating, a playground for innovation that could spark new ideas and applications. If that's not you, the smartest move is observation, not participation, following developments from afar through forums and updates. Because this isn't the final form. It's a preview, an early prototype in the grand scheme of AI evolution. What ClawdBot represents isn't a finished product with polished edges, it's a direction, a glimpse of a future where AI systems are less like tools you wield manually, and more like background processes that operate seamlessly. Less like apps you open deliberately, and more like entities that share your digital space, coexisting and contributing proactively. That future raises real questions that society will need to grapple with. Who is responsible when an agent makes a mistake? The user, the developer, or the AI provider? How do you audit decisions made over hours or days, tracing back through logs of inferences and actions? How do you bound autonomy without killing usefulness, striking a balance between freedom and control? Those problems aren't solved yet, and they require interdisciplinary efforts from ethicists, engineers, and policymakers. And that's the point of highlighting them now. ClawdBot isn't scary because it's evil or inherently malicious. It's powerful because it's early, raw, and unrefined. Early systems always feel chaotic. They lack polish in user interfaces. They lack guardrails like built-in ethical filters. They reveal the raw shape of what's coming before it's made safe for the public, allowing us to anticipate and prepare. So, if you're watching the hype and feeling confused amid the noise, here's the grounded takeaway to anchor your perspective. ClawdBot is not magic, conjuring impossible feats out of thin air. It's not sentient, lacking true consciousness or self-awareness. It's not a replacement for human judgment, which remains irreplaceable in nuanced decisions. But it is a real step toward AI agents that live with us, not just respond to us, integrated companions that enhance our capabilities. And whether that excites you with possibilities or unsettles you with uncertainties, it's worth understanding clearly, before the polished versions arrive and the choices become invisible, embedded in everyday tech without fanfare. That's what ClawdBot actually is, a harbinger of what's next in AI.